Everybody, thanks for checking out the Chris Gethard Show podcast. It's really cool that you're checking this out.
We're about to do, I think, the dumbest show we've done in years.
His life would be trash! And you better believe I'm trashed.
We are scrappy trash people.
What's the point of this show? I just turned it on.
We've always been with this show.
We've always been trash people. We will always be trash people.
It's true.
This doesn't feel real.
Hello, everyone! Live from my grandmother's basement, we have a disgusting cup just in view of the camera so that you can all see how dirty our table is. You cannot, however, see the toilet paper roll we have been using as tissues because it is so close to the camera that it is out of frame. We're the trash people. My name's Emily Pineapple.
And I'm Forrest, keeper of the Canon.
And today we continue talking about some of the awesome shit that people in the Planet Scum Live community have been doing on the most popular Discord-based radio station, I think, ever.
It's the most popular one I know about, for sure.
And you keep Canon.
I do keep Canon. So
I do like how my shirt, you can only read the weird do.
Oh,
we
yeah.
are due.
We're due.
We are due.
We're due.
And you know what we're due?
What are we due?
We're due talking about some awesome K-Scum shows we have with us today.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be talking about two awesome K-Scum shows today, and we're going to be starting off our by talking to the ever-incredible Maves and the ever-delightful Thrillhouse. Welcome to the show. We are going to be talking about your absolutely incredible show that happened just last week for the first time, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Gamer's Dead! It's the Planet Scum Gamer's Dead! Can you even imagine? Can you even imagine? You can't. I know you can't. That's why we're talking about it here. It's okay if you can't. Neither can I. But I was there, so I can. Dear friends, welcome to the show. I have some questions for you to get us started, to have people get to know you, and I have come up with new questions. Why? Because I've been asking the same question, and Thrillhouse has been with us before. That's right. So let's start off. Maves, I will ask you our classic question, which is, it is my personal belief that we have each been personally chosen by Chris Gethard to be part of his flock.
Right.
Yes, and we're shown this by qualities within us. It's similar to Calvinism. It's Gethardism, except that he is a trickster god and not the God of Abraham. I'm not sure what that dude's been called. The mighty acronym. Maves.
No, I'm following.
Good. Dear Maves, tell us, what within you tells you that you have been personally chosen by trickster god Chris Gethard? There are arguments that the mighty acronym is also a trickster god. If you just look at the Old Testament, or the Talmud, makes a little bit more sense. The Torah and the Talmud are a little bit more cohesive because it's like from the Hebrew, but like Old Testament, when King James was writing that shit, you're like, whoa, what the fuck?
It took me longer than I should have to know what the mighty acronym meant.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess for me, I watched a lot during the end of the public access days and sort of the swap over to network television, and that was sort of a big part of my my week. Every week was having the Gethard show come on, and it was sort of it was a little worrisome there before they got the network deal, but
right.
Yeah, there was a gap there, and I remember the one thing though that was really cool about it was there was still a really strong community like there is right now. Different ways of communicating, and arguably much better now, in a lot of ways, But that's always been great. There's been that consistent level of interaction with the fan base directly and with each other. So that sort of kept me in the sphere for the past, say 6 years.
I love that.
Yeah.
The desire and propensity towards being part of community. I think that is a strong element of Trickster God Chris Gethard. He even described it. He's like, I think this is the last community I'm gonna make. And I'm like, we need to talk about what you mean by that. Community you're going to make? What do you mean, Chris Gethard? Tell me. Tell me. What other ones have you done before? And I'm like, oh, you're an improv person. And in improv, like, the audience is your scene partner. Brain exploded thinking about that. But speaking of TCGS, Thrillhouse, my question for you, given that this is your second time on the show and we know that what within you chose you, that you were personally chosen by Chris Gethard, like many of us, anxiety plays a role. That is the strongest indicator for myself.
That has been a running theme.
It's like, let me count my depression summers. But my question for you is, if you were on TCGS, if you were a regular panel member of TCGS, how would you describe your persona that you would adopt? And this could be like a persona that's close to you, how you are. It could be more like Don Finelli or Shannon O'Neill, where it's very distinct and a one-sided, element of themselves, and or completely different from themselves. Tell me.
I don't know. I guess, on one level, that is a complete nightmare for me. But on another level, I think that it would probably be similar to the way that I engage with Chris Gethard generally in his content, which I guess is a little bit antagonistic.
It was like adorably antagonistic. You're like Tinkerbell. Like, she's got attitude. She has sass, but she's still an adorable pixie. Fairy?
What's the difference with a pixie and a fairy?
I mean, I feel like that's probably offensive in some fantasy realm.
Right?
Fair enough.
It's like, all small winged humanoids are not the same, okay?
I assumed you knew the mythological origin of both.
Nah. No, I mean, there are different words that, like, come from different areas, and then there's, like, sprite and fae.
We can also return
but
to the
more
question.
Importantly... I love that. I love the like slight antagonism. I think that's fantastic. Pixies are mischievous, like poltergeist. That is possible. Nah, says Tiger Bates. Nah. So we'll see. Keep up this debate in the comments because it will inform how I will refer to small winged humanoids forever. But I would love to hear from both of you. Maves and Thrill, tell us the story of how Gamers Den, the Planet Scum Gamers Den, got started. What was the inspiration? How did you organize? What was your impetus? Because I know there were game nights previous.
Yeah, those were largely run by Thrill and sort of organized ad hoc in response to us all wanting to play, typically Among Us together. And I think it might have even started a little earlier with Fall Guys, but not as organized at all. Just like we started playing loose games. We've played a couple others in Discord as well, like Ultimate Chicken Horse.
I'm sorry, excuse me?
Wait, what now?
That's totally a potential game. It's a pretty affordable title where it's competitive platforming where you have to reach from one side of the course to the other. But to get there, you have to each select an item at the beginning of each turn and place it. And you can't get there without placing enough items, but you can also place obstacles and traps and things like that. So
and you are a chicken horse?
Yeah, you can be your various animals, like a chicken, horse, raccoon.
Like a chicken horse or like a chicken and a horse?
No, and a horse.
Okay, I'm imagining like a centaur style thing, but it's like just the top half of a chicken, so it's like this big. I'm like,
Yeah, no. But they're cute. They're cute animated. It's like a 2D side view kind of thing. So if you're familiar with platforming, it's pretty accessible. But so
that's so cute. Oh my god.
I'm bringing up.
Forrest just pulled up a picture. So cute. So you played that. You played Among Us. Everyone knows what Among Us looks like because it's our lives now. That is where we live. We are on this ship, and Forrest has been acting extremely sus.
Right.
The past couple of days.
I think it's Emily. I think Emily's the imposter.
Yeah.
Only the imposter would say something like that.
That's true.
Usually this is where she starts shouting that the blood god demands blood in the middle of a game just to throw people off.
But tell us about what you learned from that and how you moved from that into the Gamer's Den.
Oh, yeah. Messaging Thrill and being like, hey, it's a lot of work to do those game night things, and they're not really easy to pick up, and find a time. So I suggested the idea of doing a more regular cadence where I pick up some of the administrative and production tasks just to make that, because for Thrill to organize it, run it, stream it, keep tabs on everything. That's a lot of stuff going on.
Tell me about the production involved in this kind of show and an operation like this, because it was really fucking cool. Because we were like chatting with each other, we're watching the game, we're doing all of this. Tell me about producing.
The Discord VC is great because we can shut it off from the stream. So separate audio streams, privacy, behind the rules kind of stuff. But for me, the biggest thing is with Twitch, that's more a necessary evil for showing the video. I would love to explore other options. It's just technically speaking, it's the most viable. It's the most common. So we've been using it, and there's been some varying delay, but ideally we can find something that'll be more consistent streaming experience, hopefully. And then we use OBS basically to just control custom scene stuff. So really basic, just putting images over layouts and stuff and transitioning to them. But
it's cute as shit.
Yeah.
I gasped aloud multiple times. All that fancy little extra shit. Oh my god, y'all look so sleek. I love it. Tell me about game selection. How do you choose the games? What goes into thinking that through? I know that last time there was a lot of jackboxing.
And marble racing.
Jackboxing. Marble racing is what's up. Tell me about marble racing. Tell me how you found marble racing. Tell me why you were like, yes, this must be the start game.
I mean, I pushed that hard.
Yeah.
So that's one of those. That's a good transition though, because it unfortunately integrates with the Twitch platform. So if that's what we're using right now, it's sort of like smoke them if you got them. Because if we're not going to use Twitch in the future, it's going to be much more difficult to find a way to do that. Right? We'd have to use Twitch as just a chat platform. It'd be very weird. So we'll do that for as long as it's fun, and as long as there's no longer games that require more of a 2-hour window.
That was one thing I liked about it for sure, was how easily it was to pop in and out of the games, and everyone was great about sort of with Jackbox honoring the I was just in, I'm gonna wait, I'll sit this one out, let someone else get in. And it was cool playing where you have the common references that just sort of come out of Planet Scum, too.
That was absolutely fun. So, marble racing. You just put your name on a marble, and it just goes, because I spent the whole time watching this and confused about the mechanics of this game, for I am not a game human.
You also weren't able to see the chat, were you? Because I had it casted up to the TV.
I was able to see half of the chat, but a lot of it was just like, play. Tell me about marble racing. Tell me about this game and why you love it. Tell me about other times you've played it.
Well, I've mostly just played it in people's Twitch streams, and sometimes there'll be like a streamer that has thousands of people watching them, so then there's thousands of people joining the marble game, and it's just like a wall of usernames, which is extremely chaotic. But it's almost more fun with a smaller group, because I feel like you can see more what's going on.
I loved the commentary that started coming out, people announcing the marble race. Would you ever consider perhaps horse betting on the marble race?
Gosh, yeah, that's the last thing we need is to get involved in tax law like the regular show.
The definitely not a bribes. Definitely not. Just a little action on the side, just a little bit.
It would be the ultimate game of chance, given how little control anyone has.
Yeah,
that's why it's perfect.
I've been super judicial about that. There has been some chatter about using some of the... there's a battle royale mode, which I'm not too familiar with. But there's some things you can do to target other players, and I've gone through and ensured that that's not going to be an issue in the regular race.
I think that's fair.
That is super fair.
Yeah,
what other considerations do you have when you're looking for games to play?
Accessibility was a big one we talked about a lot, which for us, that means, even browser-based sort of simpler games that rely more on social dynamics are perfect for this kind of thing. And there's a lot of options out there because of all the, things going on. So a lot of places have already aggregated this information, and we're just sort of peeking into it and seeing what fits the group vibe,
Oh.
Sweet. So it's as simple as like what are great group games?
Yeah, and we're trying to balance that with like Steam and potentially Switch. If there's like Mario Kart is a potential good one. We could do a tournament kind of thing. Or
tell me about your game wish list. Like what would you want to play? What's on your okay, there's two wish lists. There's the I want us to play this game and we could probably make it work or definitely make it work. And I want us to play this game and there is probably no way to make this work.
Okay.
Let's start with the first one.
I guess for me, for definitely can happen, would be Uno. I'm really excited about playing Uno.
Okay, so that's mine too.
In terms of something that I don't know how I would make it happen. Actually, Purple Hat and I talked about very early in quarantine doing a murder mystery party on Zoom or something. And then I, to be honest, didn't put that much effort into figuring out logistically how that would work. But one day I feel like it could, maybe.
That sounds like a because we've been talking about that amongst the people with whom I talk about Dungeons and Dragons, which is essentially I don't know, same groups of people. Because I'm just that sounds fun. I want to do whatever I want in game, and they're like, no, and I'm like, okay. But it sounds like a Dungeons and Dragons style game. That sounds like so much fun. Right? Murder mystery in that Gather app, right?
Yeah, that's actually, I wrote that down for referencing later,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Gather being a super fun little thing where you have a little human that you can navigate around a space, and then when you get close to other people, it brings up their videos so you can talk to them. It's like a real party without all of the benefits of a real party.
Without all the benefits of a real party?
Drawbacks.
No, I mean benefits. It's not as fun as a real party, but you are at home.
This is what Gather looks like.
That's
for
what
anyone who
Gather
hasn't
looks
used
like.
it.
Look at all those happy people.
See there, these are all their characters right down there.
Tell me about what games you really want, and you're like, I have no idea how this is gonna work or if it even could work. Like games that you want to play with people.
One of the big ones is like something like Fall Guys, where you have cross-platform concerns where people aren't really going to be able to play, but maybe we can do congruent groups where there's the platform players can swap codes or however the system connects accounts, and then we can kind of do simultaneous threads. But one of the games I was talking about earlier, 4-player cap, we're gonna have to figure out a little bit more than a rotation system. So I have a feeling there's going to be some balance between having rounds where people play and people just watch. And what I noticed is each game was a different flow. So like Jackbox had a very distinct flow, and I was shocked we only really got 4 games out of it in that long of a time. And then Marbles is super flexible, right? You could just keep going. So.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point that I hadn't really thought about, is the flow and the way that game choice will influence that, and sort of managing that with the number of people who turn out and all that. That's interesting. And I see why Among Us could be tricky with that too, because those can last so long if you have people who are playing very conservatively and not naming imposters at a good clip, and slow imposters, I suppose.
We all know the story of the imposter that acted too slow and lost it all. Tell me about what you learned.
Yeah.
What lessons have you learned from this first jump out of the gate?
I guess for me, the best thing I took from it was how great it was when I went to something like Jackbox and didn't have to participate right away as the person hosting. I was able to take a step back and sort of like see what was going on everywhere, and maybe talk tech with people who are having issues with certain things. But we discovered a lot about everyone's streaming situation, which is a really interesting dynamic, because that's just different everywhere. Delays are all over the place, So,
do you feel like that played a heavy role in, you're just like, oh my god, this is the main issue that keeps coming up, just like the tech of
yeah, no, the delay was definitely probably the biggest issue, and that's something that there's no control over, and arguably it could be fixed by maybe doing a Zoom, but that brings up other complications, and we want to reserve that for when we need video interaction. We don't want to make that a thing that has to be done every time. So,
and it's such a unique situation to be in, where you're in the room with everyone watching your stream, essentially, so you get that sort of real-time feedback on delays, because I have no idea what anyone's delay is right now. It doesn't matter as much either, but it's interesting. That was even as just an observer, that was an interesting variability I hadn't predicted or thought about either.
What about you, Thrilly? What did you learn?
I feel like, I don't know. Well, Maves did a lot of the production kind of stuff and technical stuff. I guess I learned that Maves is really good at that, but I kind of already knew that. I don't know.
Do you prefer that sort of spot? Like, what have you learned about yourself as a person who hosts things, community events, and what you might do in the future with that?
I don't know.
That's hella fair.
Yeah, that's super fair.
That's hella fair. No, I mean, that's like what's sort of fun about the whole platform is you can just try shit out for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Just try on a different mask, a different spot. Have either of you been inspired to do, you're like, wow, I really want to see a show with X, or like, damn, I really want to do Y from this?
I mean, for me, this is the right level of participation, which is like facilitating. I think when I approached Thrill about it, I referred to us as like, what's the phrase you always use about mods? You say they're custodians of the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying we're going to be custodians of fun.
I love that.
Wow.
And the idea was all the work was into setting up the table, but like it's for the party, right? It's not like that's the focus. So I think it worked out great, and I'm hoping it just means we can play more stuff at a regular cut, which is probably important to note. We're planning on doing twice a month.
Nice.
The second and fourth Saturday of the month, which we found out because I don't really focus on it, but there is a fifth Saturday in I think 3 or 4 of the months out of a year, so that's going to give us a little 2-week break.
Nice.
Inadvertently, but I believe at the moment there's no counter programming, so it's just going to be an open gap after Smeal is in session, which Thrill's also heavily involved in.
Yeah.
Which is so fun. Tell me, we have just about 2 minutes left to talk about the Gamer's Den before we jump into the next show. Do y'all have anything you want to plug? Anything at all? Yourselves or another human who may or may not be doing things, and or another concept that is not human or an inhuman being like a cat. Plug your cat.
Well, I just want to state for the record that we did ask Mary for permission to use the Gamer's Den name.
Oh, nice.
Just for the record.
Yeah, she was
What'd
very
she say?
kind and supportive. She was like, "Yeah, absolutely, go for it."
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if I had to plug anything, plugging the pre-show. Check out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Vice Famous.
Vice Famous. Pre-Scum starts at 9 Eastern.
Yeah. What's the pose?
What pose? Oh, the Thrillhouse pose.
So there's a Thrillhouse pose? Mm-hmm. Oh yes. So cute.
Thank you for that.
I love it. I have for just the final moment of chatting with you all, I'm gonna pull a card. I'm gonna pull a Planet Scum tarot card for each of you. Behold these glorious cards designed by our very own Stephen Premmel, incredible artist. I'm just gonna keep shuffling so I don't know what's coming. Maves, you need to take a break, my friend.
Ooh, Naptrix Snack Noir.
And you need a little snack. That's going to lead to your transformation. Wow. You know what? It's self-care. It's taking a second to integrate the changes you have made in your life. It's potato chips. Do you like potato chips?
I mean, yeah, who doesn't?
Right? I haven't had a potato chip in so long.
That's a good point.
Had a lot of fries, but that doesn't really count as a chip, right?
Sorry, so to recommend snacking cheese.
To that point, I did buy some Gouda snacking cheese today.
Ooh.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. That, you see how the cards speak truth?
Oh, this is on point. Yeah.
Thrilly. You're the archivist.
Wow.
Look at that. Your deep memory, your ability to hold things are what is leading to your hexagram. Ha! The hexagram. Can you even believe that Stephen Premmel did not know that star thing is called a hexagram when he put it on the card with hex? box. You're the archivist, and I love that. I love that for you because you hold so much history. You hold so much space in yourself for community.
See, he had no clue.
He had no clue. So much space in yourself for community and so much knowledge about showing things, and that leads to such a brilliant spot for you. What's in your chest, Thrill? What are you hiding in there? It's pretty big. What do you need a chest that big for? What's in the chest? What's in the box, Thrill? What's in your box? Is this your box? Is this your box? We've all been imagining just like a box-sized box, but no.
So much fancier than Gethard's.
So much
Yeah,
fancier.
it actually is. I decorated it.
Oh! Fucking incredible. Thank you both
Thank you for
so
joining
incredibly
us.
much for joining us to talk about The Gamer's Den on Planet Scum. That happens 2 Saturdays?
Yeah,
When's the next one?
Not this Saturday, but the following.
Yeah, that'll
Following
be,
Saturday.
I believe the 13th and the 27th.
Beautiful.
Ooh.
13th and 27th, that's on Saturdays, right after Smule is in session.
And if you want to see when the show is, go to planetscum.live/radio, where you can see it on that nice schedule right there.
Yes. Thank you both so
Thank you
much.
both so much.
Thank
We
you.
have our next show.
And so we talked about that because the first one was just
That was just last weekend. It was so much fun, and you should all absolutely do that. But a show that is having its final episode for now.
For now.
That's a big
As
for
far as
now.
we know, at least.
Is going to be happening
tomorrow.
Friends, welcome to the show. We've got Nick, the incredible Nick Minnick, and guess what time it is?
What time is it?
It's Susie's time. Susie and Nick here to talk about the incredible show that I have been fucking adoring.
It's so good.
That's right. It's even an android could cry. We're talking about Wanda Vision. And we're going to try and have a spoiler-free discussion. We'll try and keep it to the show. I will do my best, because if anyone's going to accidentally spoil anything, it's going to be me. But welcome. I want to ask both of you, because you've both been on this show before. I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I have a question, a getting to know you question from both of you. Were you on TCGS? If you were to be a panelist on TCGS, describe to me, in a few words, what your persona would be on that panel. Would it be mostly you? Would you sort of condense it down to like a Dawn Finelli or a Shannon O'Neill? What would your persona be? Susie, why don't you share with us?
Well, my immediate thought is feral clown.
Yes!
Just because that's my vibe, so that's my answer. Feral clown.
Yes.
I love that.
Incredible.
I love that.
That's going to live in my heart.
Yeah.
Just those words. We can all work to be feral clowns more in our lives. Nick Minnick, tell us, what would your persona be? Were you on that panel in one of those plastic chairs on the stage in M&N?
If you had to hold an onion for the whole show.
I would not hold that onion for the whole show. I think it would just be what it is in the Discord. It's an agent of chaos.
Agent of chaos.
I mean, that's what I routinely bring to anything that I do here. So.
Incredible. I love it. I love me some chaos.
Oh, yeah.
Yo.
Oh, yeah.
Chaos reigns.
Chaos does reign.
Chaos reigns, and that's not just foxes who are eating themselves saying that. Who listened to a whole podcast about Lars von Trier's Antichrist?
Hey,
This bitch.
I got my Criterion Blu-ray of Antichrist in the mail today.
Ooh.
Are you fucking kidding me, Susie?
No, I ordered it. They had their flash sale like last week, and I ordered it.
We're gonna need to talk about this movie because I will not watch this movie because listening to the description spooked me.
Yeah, you two should definitely
spooked the fuck out of me. Not even
We'll talk about it at a later date.
Yeah, at a later date.
Today we're talking about WandaVision, and we're talking about having a show, discussing a show. I love these kinds of media. Tell me, what was the impetus for starting this, and have you ever done or been a part of one of these sort of fan discussion shows, of which I've only really been, like, I listen to podcasts about shows. I've never been, like, in a book group about a show, which is basically what this is, and it's incredible.
I'd say for me, grooving through the movies is kind of like my attempt at having a fan discussion, except usually like I'm the only fan there, so it's just me talking about how much I love something. The impetus for this whole show started because like people would just talk about WandaVision every week. And then I think Nick and I were both just like, hey, let's do a show.
Nice. Have you all done anything like this before? Been part of like a regular fan discussion of a thing?
Not on the internet.
But did you have like a real life book group?
Oh, I mean, like whenever the Watchmen show came out, I had like friends where we would watch it together every week, and we would like discuss about it, that kind of thing. But like, yeah, that's basically the closest I've gotten for something like this.
Tell me about when did your love of Marvel start, and what's your relationship like with the franchise? Nick, if you want to start us off.
I first got into Marvel, I guess, when I was 10 or so. I was really into various X-Men books, especially like X Chapter. But I got out a while because like the artwork is atrocious for 90s comic books. And like it's just all stuff written by cis white dudes, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's kind of appropriate that we're starting with WandaVision because that character's treatment throughout comic books is awful. I mean, like possibly like her, maybe Captain Marvel has like some really awful like early stuff, and so the two of them are like kind of shining right now in the Marvel universe. It's great. Their history's awful. I got out of it for a while because of like it's like all dudes telling stories that are just all about dudes. But like in the last 10 years, there's been like always there's been a greater push for diversity and stuff, and like, not just with characters, but with like the artists, the writers, the creators. So that's drawn me back in. I mean, those series tend not to last because they're still like the very vocal white cis dude crowd that just kind of like doesn't want anything to do with it. They just want Venom all the time and Gambit and stuff that seems cool when you're 10, but like it's really it's over. Especially that Venom's like the stupid, like in Marvel Comics right now for the past year, Venom has just been like some overarching story for like the whole of Marvel, and it's just awful.
He's in San Francisco. Did you know he was in San Francisco? You can tell because he always wears a shirt that says something related to being in San Francisco.
Did you know he's in a polycule with the Venom symbiote and the fucking his girlfriend or whatever? That's movie canon. That's movie canon.
True.
Yes. So did you hate the Venom movie? Because I adored the Venom movie. I cannot speak to the comics.
It's a blast. It's awful, and I love it so much. It's my beautiful baby trash, and I soak in it.
Tell me, Nick. Tell me.
It is awful. I'm not one of those. Susie and I differ in this because Susie seems to love trash. A lot of people here seem to love trash and take pleasure. I hate that. I am not somebody who's like, oh, this is like a really bad show or something. We can watch this. Or it's like, no, I want no part of that. Like that right there. They could have gotten a better way. That didn't tell us what $200 million to make. It's like, oh, we need a wait. It's like, oh, what is that?
It's Sideshow Bob.
It's just This is the first thing I could buy. Like,
I have a friend with curly red hair, and we would clown on him by sending him the picture of Woody Harrelson and Venom.
Nick, so you are anti-trash. Susie, you are pro-trash. Tell me, does that like come up at all when you're talking about media?
Or media in general?
Because I don't want to stick too close to WandaVision because I'm gonna start saying things.
Fair.
And I want to say nothing because I believe that it is. Because it's going to be the freaking season finale. And so there's a lot of people who are waiting to watch the whole thing together, which I really want to do over again.
Oh, yeah.
But tell me about the... Well, we haven't heard from you, Susie. When did you start loving Marvel? What brought you into it?
So for me, like, I would just like, I don't know. I think it was weird cultural programming. Like, they were just like, you're white and we're identifying you as masculine. Here's Spider-Man. And I felt like it was just kind of like, okay, well, like, yeah, sure, I'll like this. And, growing up, I would, like, get library, like, I would get, like, the comic collections from the library and stuff like that. And then, like, Iron Man came out when I was, like, 9 years old.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make everyone feel old as fuck. Iron Man came out when I was like,
big deal.
Yeah, Iron Man was a big deal, and like I didn't catch that necessarily, but like I was like growing older while like all these Marvel movies were coming out, and so like I was kind of in like the prime demographic.
Yeah.
So I was really into it, and then like I don't know, around like later high school, whenever I started getting into cinema, I was like a little more iffy on Marvel movies, and now, I've really enjoyed WandaVision, and I also have a lot of complicated feelings about Marvel in terms of like their relationship to Disney as a mega corporation. Yes, all the military propaganda, the literal fucking Marvel Northrop Grumman collab that happened.
Right? The Marvel whom?
Northrop Grumman? They're a military weapons designer, and Marvel did a collab with them, which is like, come on, like literally, like it's so funny and so sad. Like we all saw the first Iron Man, we all learned the message there of don't make military weapons, and what does Marvel turn around and do?
They make the Avengers meet the military contractor superheroes.
Wait.
Yeah. They're all wearing the Northrop logo and colors down here. And then they meet the MCU versions of all the heroes.
So tell me why, like, because there's been a lot of shows, but WandaVision is the one that really, I mean, I think that it's changed the landscape.
This isn't related, but this was my childhood Tony Stark, and I'm so glad we moved away from this mulleted version of Tony Stark.
He looks like a pirate.
He does look like a pirate.
That seems really sad.
Tell me about WandaVision. WandaVision, of course, like, the basics. It's about Wanda. It has elements of like
they are cool, Tig.
doing old shows. Redoing old shows, and it isn't specifically about big monster fights. It's pretty specifically not about big monster fights. Tell me, is like, why WandaVision? Like, why did that grab your heart?
I'd say for me, and I think Susie said this too, like I know everybody's really in the MCU and everything. I haven't really cared about anything, with the exception of like Ragnarok. I haven't really cared about anything recently. I haven't really been invested in any of these characters. I mean, it took them how long to have like a woman that actually did anything? It took them how long to have like a person of color. There's still no real queer representation.
True.
Like I know Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie is supposed to be bi, but like that hasn't.
They're not showing it
yet.
Yeah. Show me the proof, my dudes. Show me where put your money where your mouth is, Marvel. I want to see Valkyrie making out with Valkyries. I want it.
I mean, maybe Captain Marvel with Valkyrie, because that's a Thompson Brie Larson thing. That is a palpable thing. but like WandaVision just seemed like the first interesting thing that came along. I also think like comics is better for TV than it is for a movie. You're trying to condense all these things, all these plot points into like a 2 hour, or I guess now they're like all 3 hours long, needlessly. But this just seems like the right avenue for it, and I like Scarlet Witch and Vision's characters. They're both horribly underserved by the films prior. So I was excited when I saw this coming, and like various other shows are coming out too. Are characters that I really like a lot, so it seemed to make perfect sense to jump on this now.
What has pulled your heart, Susie, about WandaVision?
Yeah, I mean, just like shit's weird, you know? Like it's a weird. I mean, you know, it's still pretty like standard in a lot of ways, but like for Marvel, like it's odd. It's a weird little show, and I feel like it really embraces a lot of like the you know, like the magic elements and all these like strange other elements that like I feel like a lot of Marvel shows or Marvel movies have been scared to do. And also this is the most like, I don't know. I understand they've moved away from this, but to me, like I would watch a whole movie, a whole series with like the tone of the first few episodes.
Absolutely.
Like I want to watch these characters just have like goofy little failures, you know? Like I think that's something. I've been watching a lot of Steven Universe lately.
Nice.
And I feel like that show does a really good job of like handling like grief and the way it affects like relationships and that kind of thing. And
we're such
I feel
a
like
grief-averse society.
Yeah,
like, learning about the Victorians, like how they would like, because it's like morbid. We're like, oh my god, they would keep lockets of each other's hair after they died, and like all these like weird death ritual and jewelry things. And it's like, yeah, because everyone was fucking dying. Like, you will have 5 husbands because they're gonna die of cholera.
Yeah, I've definitely thought about how like, I don't know, I don't want to get into too much about like death on this show.
Super fair
enough.
Super fair.
Super fair. But like, you know, distance from death is like a privilege, and it's a pretty like Western colonial privilege to like not have to witness death. And so I do feel like it's interesting that like, I don't know, WandaVision is like this big sensation, and it's essentially like a mediated presentation of death and the grieving process. Yeah, I'm just interested in that. I don't have much more to say.
It's also interesting because it's it reminds me of a lot of the comic runs that I've personally loved the most, that aren't the like big event crossover things necessarily, but like actually like the Tom King Vision run, which is also just very good.
Batman.
What about Batman?
All of Batman. I just realized why I'm into Batman.
Hey!
Sick.
Oddly enough, like, I feel like this is very fitting. One of the first comics I really read, like one of the first comic collections I really read, is Avengers Disassembled.
Yeah.
Which, like, WandaVision seems to be taking a lot of different, like, elements from.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's also been really interesting. Because I do think, like, you know, like, I was like, oh, this is what comics are. Like, 3 people die minimum.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've been very interested by WandaVision because of that.
Tell me about what you've gotten from discussions. Like, what do you get? How does your experience with the show change having weekly discussions with a bunch of people about what's going on? Nick, why don't you share with us?
Well, I know before we started doing this show, I worked late on Friday, so by the time I actually got onto Discord, like, everybody was done discussing it. So now, just to actually just talk about it with people, instead of just trying to like 3 or 4 hours after we talk about it, like, oh, well, what about this? And like nobody responds to us. So, we're done with this. So it is nice to talk about it with people and hear people's insights. And I mean, a lot of fun about this is just the speculations, like, oh, this is clearly setting up this, or like, oh, I think this is going to happen. I mean, that's the fun of like shows like this, and the weekly nature of it, instead of it just being dropped all at once. I think that's why you watch television, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We have a question I do want to hit before we go to Susie, but will the show continue past the season finale? Do you have any thoughts on this? Yes?
Oh,
yes!
We're gonna cover like the other shows that come out this year. So like,
yay!
Falcon and Winter Soldier is coming out.
Nice.
And Loki, I think, is coming out. And
excited.
And Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, I think, comes up again next year. So we're, at least for the foreseeable future, staying with this show. I think there's like a week gap.
Mm-hmm.
A week gap between Wanda Vision ending and Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I don't know what we'll do there. Maybe we'll do something. We've been doing these fan casts, so maybe we'll do like a fan fiction thing with that.
Ooh.
I'm just spitballing here. I don't want to.
I want to hear the fan fiction. Give it to me. This is just such a... This whole era of Marvel and this show and like having people to chat like this in depth with about this is such a like 13-year-old me's dreams, like social dreams realized.
Absolutely.
Like I can talk about this bullshit in depth, connect it back to the fucking comics that I read and am Googling and speculating the future and discussing like all these things, and people actually like are there and they're doing it and they're not just like, Emily, we get it.
Mm-hmm.
You like superheroes? Here's a Spider-Man. Enjoy. Oh, sorry. No, you're identified as a girl. So here's Wonder Woman.
Sorry,
the only one we know. Right? I was like scrambling my mind to come up with like the woman in Marvel that everyone knew about when I was 13, and I'm like, no one. There's none.
Nobody.
None.
I mean, if you like looked a little further in, like I don't even know. Yeah, I definitely do not remember a lot of like prevalent like Marvel women being like brought to the fore. I remember seeing like some She-Hulk stuff, or like like Storm, or like Scarlet Witch, every now and then. But like, yeah, that was about it.
It was always in the X-Men, and a lot of it was Jean Grey, which is just like she sucks, and then she is overtaken by a being that is not her and is not human. So she's either not confident in herself and not able to do anything, and then like that's what I got from the whole Phoenix thing, and from the older books at least. I feel like you have feelings about this.
Like that they don't bother to get like here's one by Marvel Girl, and they're just like, you know what? You just Jean Grey. You don't need it. Everybody else is here. You're just Jean Grey. It's like one of the laziest things. Like the only other one is She-Hulk. That was like incredibly lazy too. It's like, well, you're a lovely She-Hulk. She was created solely for copyright purposes. So
yeah.
That's what it was all about. But it's still like, that's like the dumbest fucking. I really hope, and I love that character when she's well written, which is not often. But I really hope that something was addressed on the show. Just how stupid that is.
What are your feels about that, Susie?
Yeah.
What is the name of the cat?
Ramona.
I love her little void face.
Hey, Mona. Okay. What are my thoughts on which part? I had a little trouble hearing.
Jean Grey. Jean Grey.
I don't know. I mean, just listening to like the way you describe it, I feel like it's relevant to like the dehumanization of women within narratives, especially narratives written by men. Which is usually, it takes the form of like, oh, look at how monstrous this woman is and how unwomanly she is by being monstrous. And I feel like a lot of that is also related to like, oh, does this woman have agency? Is she making choices on her own? We condemn that as well. And I do think like WandaVision's been towing that line for me. WandaVision's been towing that line, and I think something I've really appreciated as far as getting other perspectives is like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's really easy to like look at stuff like that in media and be like, that's normal, I guess. And so having other people there to just be like, hey, this is kind of weird, can be like really helpful. Because like, you know, I think it's important to have space to enjoy things. But I also think it's important, you know, in these spaces to maintain a certain sort of like critical eye towards what we watch and what we take in. And so that's kind of how I've been treating WandaVision. And that's kind of why I appreciate doing the show and talking with people. Because it's a way to get other people's perspectives, other backgrounds in, and see like, what are we seeing when we're looking at this same thing?
I definitely agree. I think it fits with Thrill's comment how I was always a Batman person, because Batman is a comic about grief and what you do with it. But Marvel actually has changed, whereas like Batman's been the same the whole time I have read him, except when he was Dick Grayson for like a little while.
And when he was a pilgrim because he got shot with a bullet that sent him back in time.
Yes!
That super resonant moment. Yeah, we've all been there.
Oh, the witch?
Yes. Yes.
He's Black Phillip.
I love it. I fucking love it. I'm so excited. I'm so happy that this show is going to continue, that we're going to be continuing to have these discussions. We have 1 minute before y'all need to get...
These discussions are really what helped make me interested in Captain America, or Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Otherwise, we probably wouldn't watch it.
I would not be watching that show. I would not be watching any of the other MCU TV shows if it was not for Nick, if it was not for this show.
And I say this as someone who wrote my senior seminar about Captain America. I would even be like, I'm good.
I would just like to say, like, I definitely don't have a lot of interest in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but Loki.
Yes.
I mean, Tom Hiddleston's been one of the best parts of the MCU, so I think for that he gets a pass. Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel, and She-Hulk, like Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, are like among my favorite characters. I am super excited about these shows. My expectations are lowered, but I'm still very much excited about them. Definitely gonna watch them. But yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier, I don't really like Anthony Mackie, like Daniel Brawl. So
yeah.
Incredible. Friends, it's 6 o'clock, which means it's time to jump over to the Discord for the Vice Famous pre-show. But for the last second that we have before it's 6:01, plug your shit. Plug your shit. Where can people find you? Susie.
I'm on Discord.
Sweet. Nick.
I am
Anything to
also
plug?
on Discord. I have another channel that people don't listen to that much, and that's fine. I still do the show anyway. I'm very antagonistic, I've been told. True control if that's an accurate read of the situation.
I love that. I think very antagonistic would also work as your persona for TCGS. But thank you everyone who has joined us. Thank you everyone who has seen these shows. Everyone go to these shows, enjoy them, and head over to the Discord for the pre-show. We'll see you all after the show in the post-show.
On the Discord.
On the Discord. Good night and good Klon.
Good night and good Klon.
Nick's love language is antagonizing his friends.